Hi everyone, and welcome back to English for You. I'm Pat.
I'm Kathy.
So we're on day 2 of our TOEIC article, so let's quickly remind ourselves of what happened on day 1.
Okay.
So we have Thomas and Jackie. They are colleagues. They work in the same office.
One Monday morning, they're having a normal conversation talking about their weekends.
And as they talk, Jackie mentions her boyfriend, but this changes the conversation and makes it uncomfortable.
Thomas starts saying he's sad Jackie has a boyfriend and that he thought he had a chance to date her and start a relationship.
He also says she wears sexy clothes and thought she was sending him signals so he'd ask her out on a date.
Jackie says that her clothes are nice, not sexy, and Thomas has completely the wrong idea.
Unfortunately, Thomas makes things worse by saying that if Jackie and her boyfriend break up, he'd still like to date her.
Jackie then says this is making her feel uncomfortable.
Thomas tries to pretend he wasn't serious, saying he was just trying to say Jackie looks nice.
However, Jackie tells him they need to be more mature in the office. She doesn't want to sit near someone who's looking at her in that way all day.
Thomas ends the conversation, but is it too late? Let's find out today and read through day 2.
Reading. Reporting a colleague. The response from HR. To Thomas Chow, Marketing Officer. From Helen Zhang, Human Resources Officer. Dear Thomas, recently one of your colleagues reported an incident of sexual harassment to our office. I would like to remind you that sexual harassment is more than just touching someone. Comments that are sexual in nature are considered to be harassment. So are invitations to go on dates. When you are at work, you cannot behave the way you would socially. Your coworkers do not have the choice to avoid you, so we must behave professionally at the office. We have moved your colleague to a new desk in order to avoid further conflict. However, this letter also serves as a warning. Further harassment will result in discipline, such as forced unpaid leave from work. In order to help you avoid further conflict and possible discipline, we are inviting you to an anti-harassment training session. Please report to the HR office on Monday, February 1st at 2 p.m. We will teach you about our anti-harassment policy and how you can avoid other possible harassment situations.
So today starts off and we can see from the title that it's the response from HR. HR means human resources, which we'll talk about in just a moment. This is a response or a reply from HR. So we know that HR is taking action after someone reported one of their colleague. That's the full title, Reporting a Colleague, the response from HR.
昨天我们看了这段办公室里面的对话，让 Jackie 感到很不舒服，所以今天我们就来看呢这段对话后面的续集，并不是结束就没有了，因为呢人力资源部写了一封信给 Thomas， 这里出现的 Human Resources 就是 HR， 指的是人力资源部门。So we can guess that Jackie reported Thomas to HR after their uncomfortable conversation.
Right. And we start with some of the information about the response. We see it's an email. It's dated January 29th, and it's to Thomas Chow, Marketing Officer.
Marketing 指的是行销，所以这里呢，我们可以知道 Thomas 的职位是行销专员 and it's from Helen Zhang, Human Resources Officer.
So a resource is just something you have available that you can use. Resources could be things like water or stone or wood, some kind of building material. Resources could also be something you could sell. It could be a talent you have, money that's available for a purpose, or the people at a company who can work for you. Resources can even be things you can use for information, like this website is a great resource for grammar rules, for example. Now, human resources is the department of a company that deals with humans. So that's people, hiring people, firing people, advertising for new staff, and dealing with any problems between different members of staff. For example, we might say, the manager asked human resources to help him hire some new salespeople.
刚刚我们提到 human resources 就是 HR， 指的是人力资源部门，专门处理像是管理公司人员异动啊，或是资料的异动。那同时也会协助公司各部门呢招募人工出勤管理，或是输入汇入每日出勤表，了解员工实际出勤的状况等等这些内容的工作。那 resources 这个字的意思就是资源，我们用这个字来造个句子。The long war has drained the resources of both countries. 漫长的战争呢，耗尽了两国的资源。Resource 也指 something that can be used to help you. For example, the library was a valuable resource, and he frequently made use of it.
So the email starts by saying, Dear Thomas,Recently, one of your colleagues, that's the word from yesterday, one of your colleagues reported an incident of sexual harassment to our office. An incident is a single happening or event. Now, we do tend to use the word incident about something that is serious, and it's not something that would just happen every day.A car accident or some kind of crime could be an incident. Or you could have an argument, a big argument between two people, or maybe a student getting into trouble at school. These are incidents.
那这封信开头是这么写的哦，他说 Dear Thomas,最近你的一位同事呢，向我们人力资源部举发了一则性骚扰事件。Reported 在这里指的是举发、告发，而这里的 incident 是指不寻常或令人不愉快的事件，特别是指 an event that is either unpleasant or unusual. Let's take a look at an example sentence.A youth was seriously injured in a shooting incident on Saturday night. And here in the article, the incident was sexual harassment.
We'll look at the word sexual first. Sexual means related to sex. So if people are in a sexual relationship, it's a relationship where they're having sex.If a movie has sexual content, people will have sex in the movie, so young children probably shouldn't watch it until they are older and understand what sex is. So you might see this at the start of a movie or a TV show. The warning comes up. This movie contains scenes of a sexual nature, so it's not appropriate.For young kids.
我们来看一下 sexual 这个字。昨天我们也提到 sexy， 那这个单词指的是性感的意思，而 sexual 意思与性也有相关的 ，sexually 也是与性有关。这几个单字呢，都是从 sex 这个字延伸而来的。我们来用 sexual 造个句子。They accused her of sexual discrimination. 他们指控她呢拥有性别歧视。
So now let's explain harassment, and particularly sexual harassment. Harassment is when someone uses pressure to try to make something happen. Often the pressure can be physical, or it can be a person trying to scare another person or threaten to tell their secrets.Sexual harassment is when someone is acting or talking in a way that's too aggressive and very unwelcome to show someone that you're interested in them in a sexual way. Now, this could be looks, it could be things you say, comments, or worst of all, it could be touching someone when they really don't want you to.
这边我们要来看的单字是 harassment 骚扰，就可以跟我们刚才提到的 sexual 合在一起使用，变成 sexual harassment 性骚扰。It means unwanted or offensive sexual attention or talk, especially from an employer or other person in a position of power. 那像在文章中 Jackie 就是被骚扰者，被骚扰的受害者。 英文我们就可以说 She is a victim of sexual harassment.
Yeah. And so the email continues. It says, I would like to remind you that sexual harassment is more than just touching someone. So what this means is, yes, if you touch someone and they don't want you to, that is absolutely 100% sexual harassment. But you can sexually harass people, that's using the verb harass, without even touching them. So we also saw the word remind here.To remind someone is to tell someone something that they already know or should already know because you're concerned they might have forgotten or might forget about it and you want to help them remember. You might remind someone about an important appointment. So, hey, don't forget, we're meeting for dinner at 7 tonight. Something like that.It's important for students to read their class notes to remind themselves of the important facts from a lesson. Here's another example sentence. Kenny's mom reminded him to go to his grandparents' house after school.
这里的 remind 是提醒的意思，是想起，是记起，后面可以加上 of 做使用。For example, the story reminds me of a terrible experience I once had. 而如果是提醒某人做某事，英文你可以说 to remind somebody to do something， 也可以用在讨厌或是不喜欢别人提醒年龄。例如 She hated to be reminded of her age. 她讨厌别人提醒她的年龄。
So next, the article explains more about sexual harassment being more than just touching. It says, comments that are sexual in nature are considered to be harassment. So a comment is something that is said to show what you think about a particular thing.You see it or hear about a thing, and then you say or maybe write something so other people know your opinion. We could also say it's a remark. It's just a way to express your thoughts. Online, we see lots of comments, like, someone puts something on Facebook or Instagram, and there are replies. Or you watch a YouTube video, and you see a load of people have said something about the video in the comments.The phrase comments that are sexual in nature means the comments contain this kind of maybe sexual language or sexual kind of attitude, stuff that definitely is not appropriate for work.
Comment 这个是名词，指评语或是意见。那后面你通常可以加上 on 做使用。例如你剪了一个新发型，但是你不想要任何人做评论或是评价，你就可以说 I don't want any comments on my new haircut. Thank you. Comment 也有注释、解释、评论的意思。Let's look at an example here. He commented that it was an excellent film.
Right. So back to the email, which is going to mention more things that are considered to be sexual harassment. It says, so are invitations to go on dates. Now, maybe this is one of those things where, like, once is okay if it's done in a kind of the right way. Like, if you ask a coworker out, that's kind of your business. But if they say no, that's it. You leave it alone after that. Drop the subject.
The HR officer then tells Thomas to think about his behavior, saying in the article, when you are at work, you cannot behave the way you would socially.
Socially is the adverb form of social, so socially means related to anything social, or someone in a social situation, around other people, not at work.People who are together socially will be quite friendly and casual with each other. They might make jokes, they'll have a bit of fun, and so on. They're more likely to do things like talk about dates, maybe ask each other out, things like that. However, when you are at work, it's not a social situation. You don't behave socially, you have to behave in a different way. So you could say when you're talking about the people in your office,Most of the people I work with are just my co-workers. However, I get on very well with some of them and see them socially as well. which means you hang out outside work.
Socially 是副词，意思是社交方面的，通常呢是在一个比较轻松愉快或是自由的场所或场合，所以呢和 workplace 的气氛还有场所是不一样的哦。工作场合一般的表现是需要严谨、严肃、正式的。By the way, is there a good adverb that's the opposite of socially?
Yes, and it's in the next sentence of the email. It says,Your co-workers do not have the choice to avoid you, so we must behave professionally at the office. So we use the adjective professional to talk about work. It's a job or a profession. So at work, you need to be honest, you need to be responsible, you need to do your work and not just have fun and relax. And if you do all that, then you are behaving professionally.
Professionally 这个副词意思是专业的。那如果你把后面的 ly 拿掉，变成 professional， 就有职业选手啊、专家或是内行的意思。For example, she always looks very professional in her smart suits.
So after telling Thomas about his behavior, Helen from HR tells him what has happened as a result. She says in the email,We have moved your colleague to a new desk in order to avoid further conflict. I just noticed this, but it's interesting they don't mention Jackie's name. So, I mean, I'm going to guess that it's Jackie, but it's possible that it's somebody else and they might have moved that person, in which case Thomas has been rather not good around a lot more people. I think we can assume here that it is Jackie and they're just kind of being polite and just saying your colleague in the message.
And here in the article, Helen also says, however, this letter also serves as a warning.
To serve as means the same as to act as. It means this thing has one or more specific purposes, and this is one of them. So first, the letter served as a reminder of how Thomas should or should not behave. However, the letter also serves as, or we could say acts as, or we could just say is a warning.
文章这里提到一个片语 A serve as B， 意思是 A 作为 B。A 有 B 的功用，有什么的效果，当做什么用。在这里呢，这封信的意思是当做一个警告用。And so, what is the warning?
Helen makes it very clear. She says further harassment will result in discipline, such as forced unpaid leave from work. We use the phrasal verb result in to show the result or consequence of a particular situation.If A happens, it will result in B, or if A happens, B will be the result.
这里就引到另外一个片语 result in， 意思是导致，结果造成什么什么。To cause a particular situation to happen. 举个例子 The fire resulted in damage to their property, and the result here is, in the article, is discipline.
We can use discipline in two ways.We can talk about it as a good quality. Someone with discipline can control themselves, stay focused, and do what they should be doing. However, discipline can also mean the same thing as punishment, and that's how the word is being used here. It could also be a verb. Thomas will be disciplined or punished if there's any further harassment. So we could say, children should be given freedom,but they also need some discipline when they are naughty and break the rules.
Discipline 的意思就是惩戒约束。例如呢，学生很顽皮，讲不听，那训导处可能就会跟他的班导建议说 A little discipline will do them a lot of good. 略加惩处呢，对他们将大有好处。Discipline 还有纪律、风纪、教养的意思。For example, they have good discipline.And so here in the article, one of the results Helen mentions is forced unpaid leave from work.
Forced means Thomas won't have a choice. He'll have to stay home from work, but he won't get paid. Now, this isn't like a vacation. It means you're told not to come in for a week and you lose money.And everyone knows you're in trouble. In some places, this is known as a suspension, S-U-S-P-E-N-S-I-O-N, suspension, or we could say being suspended, S-U-S-P-E-N-D-E-D, suspended.
这里的 forced 就是被强制的，没有任何选择权的。所以如果 Thomas 再继续这样骚扰的话，就会被 forced unpaid leave from work. 这里的 unpaid leave 指的就是给他放无薪假了。
So, we see Thomas was told to improve his behavior. He was warned not to do it again, and Jackie, presumably, moved desks. So maybe it seems like nothing really bad happened to Thomas?
Well, that's not quite true. Next in the email, Helen says, in order to help you avoid further conflict and possible discipline, we are inviting you to an anti-harassment training session.
So, Thomas will have a class to have anti-harassment training. He'll be told what's okay, what isn't, and how to behave. Now, this is actually quite embarrassing for an adult because the other people will be treating you like you're a child. And here we use the word session, which means one single period of something from start to finish. A massage session would be one massage, maybe for an hour or two. But we can also use the word session to kind of mean like a class, and that's how we're using it here.
文章中出现的 anti-harassment 指的是反性骚扰的，这个很好记。同学们，你只要看到字首是 anti 或者 anti， 都有反对、防止的意思。所以假设你看到 anti-war 表示反战的， anti-social 表示反社会的。另外，这里出现的名词 session 有集会的意思，这边也指 Thomas 要去上反性骚扰的训练课程。
Next, we get some details on this session. The email says, please report to the HR office on Monday, February 1st at 2 p.m.
And then Helen says, we will teach you about our anti-harassment policy and how you can avoid other possible harassment situations.
A policy is a set of rules and instructions for how something is supposed to go. So it's all the rules for an action, or it could be a government rule about something. We could say it's the do's and the don'ts. So we can do this, but not this. In this situation, you must do this, for example. A hiring policy would say how we advertise for new staff, what the process is for interviews and stuff, and all the other rules about hiring people. A policy is pretty much always written down, so anyone can read it and learn all the rules and instructions. For example, we could say, this company's policy is that all new staff members can't take vacation days during their first 3 months.
Policy 就是方针、政策 a set of ideas or a plan of what to do in particular situations that has been agreed to by a group of people, the government, or a political party. For example, no smoking is company policy. 所以这些方针政策都是需要去遵守的。
So Thomas will have to learn the policy and make sure he follows every part of it in the future. That's where the email finishes, so let's end the article and go to today's For You Chat question.
For You Chat.
Here's our question. If you reported a problem with a classmate, how would you expect your teacher to deal with it?
Well, of course, I will expect my teacher to tell that classmate not to do the things which makes me feel uncomfortable again. I think I might also hope that with the help of my teacher, that classmate will apologize to me and ensure that he or she will never do it again. What about you, Pat?
I guess it probably depends on how serious the problem is. If it's super serious, you might hope that the problem would mean the student is moved to a different class or maybe even kicked out of the school if they did something, if it's bullying, it's like that student should not be in the class with the kid he bullied and maybe not even in the school if it was really bad. But if it's something like, oh, he took my pencil one time, then yeah, give the pencil back and say sorry and don't do it again. So as long as something is done something and that something seems to be fair with the problem, then I guess I'm pretty happy. Sometimes it gets recognized, and if there's no apology, kids don't always apologize easily, but as long as something is done that seems to match the offense, then I guess that's okay. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for listening, everyone. For English for You, I'm Pat.
I'm Kathy.
We'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Reporting a colleague. The response from HR. To Thomas Chow, Marketing Officer. From Helen Zhang, Human Resources Officer. Dear Thomas, recently, one of your colleagues reported an incident of sexual harassment to our office. I would like to remind you that sexual harassment is more than just touching someone. Comments that are sexual in nature are considered to be harassment. So are invitations to go on dates. When you are at work, you cannot behave the way you would socially. Your coworkers do not have the choice to avoid you, so we must behave professionally at the office. We have moved your colleague to a new desk in order to avoid further conflict. However, this letter also serves as a warning. Further harassment will result in discipline, such as forced unpaid leave from work. In order to help you avoid further conflict and possible discipline, we are inviting you to an anti-harassment training session. Please report to the HR office on Monday, February 1st at 2 p.m. We will teach you about our anti-harassment policy and how you can avoid other possible harassment situations.
Vocabulary Review. Human Resources, HR. Our Human Resources Department is responsible for hiring people, so they'll look at your file. Sexual. When Larry turned 13, he started having sexual feelings for girls, and he thought about them a lot. Remind. Could you remind Jack to finish his report tonight? We need to hand in our project tomorrow. Socially. Stephanie is a shy girl, and she doesn't know how to chat socially with others. Discipline. The worker faced discipline and had her pay cut because she made too many mistakes. Policy. Our company policy allows employees to take 1 hour for lunch every day.
智慧小补帖
Incident. Harassment. Comment. Professionally. Session.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net